and divine light. Hope the sun is shining wherever you are and you are living in your greatest purpose. Thank you for your likes, comments, shares, and subscribes. Thank you to all who continue to support the channel. All of the um, channel members, subscribers, I want to make sure I share this. Okay, y'all. Let me know if you're on here. Drop a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me back this up just a little bit. Okay. So as you are coming on here, let me know where you're tuning in from, what country, what city, what state you're tuning in from. Let us know. If you are just tuning into the live, let us know where you're tuning in from. Hey y'all, welcome to the live. Just fixing my stuff here. Hey, let me know where you're tuning in from. Trying to see if I can put this incense on. Okay. Where there's a will, there is a way, y'all. That is the word for today. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're just tuning into the live, I'm just don't mind me now. I'm just burning some incense, just waiting for folks to come on. Let me know you're here and let me know where you're tuning in from, y'all. Welcome. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. Welcome back. If there are any members in here, welcome members. So right off the bat, I am receiving a message, and maybe it's for someone who is on this live. Okay. And your spirit guides want you to know where there is a will, there is indeed a way. Okay? Where there is a will, there is a way. Which means that if you're willing, that you can basically accomplish anything. And that's important, y'all, because sometimes, and I am going to stick to the subject matter, sometimes, and I'm finding that a lot of times our will is tested. Okay? Our will is tested. Our willpower is tested. Because and I see this, quite often. I'm just burning some incense, don't mind me. I see this quite often. And I take note when it happens. And I think our spirit guides oftentimes test our willpower for different reasons. And I think one of the reasons why our spirit guides test our willpower is to see how bad we want something. I think sometimes that is the case where our spirit guides are testing, just how badly do you want this thing, okay? Whatever this thing is. For some of you, it could be, okay, you want to elevate spiritually. And so your spirit guides may test you. Okay. For example, you may say that, oh, okay, you're about to do a fast because, you want to, cleanse your body and remove the toxins and so on and so forth. And the very moment that you're about to do that fast, you never get any invitations to any restaurant or anything like that. All of a sudden somebody invites you to a restaurant, or that's the week someone offers to bring all these foods that you're not supposed to be eating during the fast. Like, we're tested quite a bit. Our willpower is tested for different reasons. Some of it is economic, some of it is spiritual. Um, we're tested. We're definitely tested. Your spirit guides want you to know, if you didn't know before, where there is a will. For some of you, you may have needed to hear this. Where there's a will, there's a way. Okay? That's the first thing. I'm going to speak on, and I may pull some cards to do a reading as well. Okay, after. Okay. My incense just fell. Let me see, where did it go? Okay, so I may pull some cards after the brief message. Okay, I may pull some cards to do a financial read. Okay. All right, so we'll do that. So let's start with the subject matter, which is, and folks may not, you know what? I'm gonna just go with it. All right. So your economic situation has a spiritual basis. Okay? Okay. Your economic situation has a spiritual basis. And, well, everything really, okay, in case you may not have known, everything has a spiritual basis. Everything, if we want to think of, money, okay, as energy. Money is energy. Many people will say that money is currency, okay? So everything essentially is energy. And so because the spirit realm operates, in an energetic way, okay? When we're talking about spirituality, and I think part of the reason why it's often challenging for folks to really grasp or I don't know if it's grasp. Okay, it's challenging for a lot of folks to really hone in on their spiritual walk, because spirituality is a lot of it is energy. A lot of it is based off of energy, and it's based off of, and this is just part of my understanding of it. Okay, I'm sure there's like a lot of different ways to describe it. A lot of what we call a positive spiritual walk, or a very powerful spiritual walk, has to do with energy, and how well we are in harmony with the energies that exist around us. Okay? Spirituality, a lot of it is about connecting with a lot of what we don't see, which is energy. So when you're talking about spirituality, it's oftentimes challenging for a lot of folks to really hone in on what exactly are you talking about, especially for folks that are the kind of folks that's like, if I don't see it, okay, if it's not tangible, if it's not going to help me in the moment, like, I don't need to be bothered with it. Okay, you have a lot of folks, like a lot of folks that are kind of like, I want it and need it right now kind of thing. If it's not going to help me right now, like in an instant, if it's not an instantaneous thing, it's like, don't talk to me about it. Okay, so a lot of folks don't understand what it really means to have a relationship with spirit, because a lot of that relationship is it's vibration, it's energy. And so it's like, how do you explain that? And even talking about it is challenging. But I will say that in terms of having that energy, okay, it's important that we ourselves are in a certain vibration in order for us to receive that vibration, that energy that we're trying to, harmonize with. It's about part of it. I would say part of it is how well you can be in harmony, how well you can harmonize with the energies that are around you. Okay? How well you can harmonize, how well you can alchemize with the energies that are around you. Because not every energy, right? Not every energy around you is necessarily for you. Yet there are ways that you can alchemize your energy to assure that whatever energy is not there to serve your highest purpose, that it's removed from your space. Okay? So I want to make sure I say that in terms of like why it's oftentimes challenging for folks to really comprehend, what it means to have a relationship with spirit, because it's not something that you can see. It's not tangible. It's not a right now kind of thing. I mean, it is in some cases. In a lot of cases, it's very subjective. Okay, so one person's relationship, one person's spiritual walk is gonna look different from someone else, and there are people that are looking for like this template, to study from, and it's like it's not, you know. Whoosh, Ashe. A lot of people are looking for a template to study from, and or they're looking for a book to read to find out how to do X, Y, and Z. And it's not really like that. Like, it's about having a relationship with whatever energies that you want to be in harmony with. It's and there are different energies, right? There are different energies. So with that being said, let's get to the subject of like the financial aspect and spirituality, right? So we said that money is energy, it's currency, so on and so forth. That's important to know. That is very important to know, because once you put it into perspective like that, okay, that money is energy, it's currency, then having something tangible that we put a value on kind of limits, you know, what we call, money, if that makes sense, right? So we have a tangible object that represents the energy that exists, yet, currency is ever flowing. It doesn't, it keeps flowing. And there are ways for you to be in alignment for that, so that way it keeps on flowing. Another thing that I want to make sure that I speak on is, especially for a lot of you, okay, a lot of you that choose, to walk a different path than what is expected of you. All right. You may be someone that chooses not to take a traditional path in terms of, what you do for work. All right. It can be very challenging, right? It can be very challenging. You said, what if you don't, Tapelo, you said, what if you don't like spirituality anymore? What do you mean? Speak on that. Okay, so especially when you are someone that chooses a different path, the minute that you go against the grain, you choose to do something that's going to elevate you spiritually, just know that there are a lot of forces out there that are there to constrict you. Okay, you know that what is it? That Eight of Swords energy where you see someone constricted, someone that's bound, okay? And the interesting thing is that like it's meant to create an illusion, okay? So you could go with the norm. So you don't take the path that you're supposed to take. Okay? When you choose to take the path that's less taken, all right? When you choose to not necessarily take that traditional path, um you may run into a lot of obstacles. Okay, you may run into a lot of obstacles. In fact, one of the reasons why a lot of folks kind of like give up on their dreams, their goals, and things that they've always wanted to do for themselves is that that path is a lot more challenging. That path is not always like that one and done, that get rich quick overnight kind of thing. Like when you choose to live authentically, in your truth, and your truth may definitely, bring you a lot of, financial wealth, okay? Just know that, a lot of times the path, a lot of the traditional path, the traditional way of doing things, it seems like when you choose to go against that path, this is where, you experience a lot of challenges. Okay? You may experience a lot of potential, you know, and I would say energy. It's really energy. Okay? You may experience a lot of one second. You may experience a lot of forces that are forcing you to take the road that will not necessarily benefit your soul. Okay? So for many of you who are on that path where you are living, to fulfill a greater purpose, you are on that path to fulfilling your greater purpose, you may find that that's when you encounter a lot of, a lot of blockage. So what does that mean? Does that mean that you stop? And what do those blockages look like? And the blockages can be a lot of different things. The blockages, most importantly, their energy. Okay? And anything can be, can come into your energy as a blockage. Your own family could be, a blockage. Like there are different ways that, those blockages can appear in your energy. So it's important that you continue to stay on that path and stay true to your goals and what you see for yourself. And this is why from the very beginning of the live, I was getting this message, and it may be for someone, that where there's a will, there's a way. Someone may have, needed to hear that. Where there's a will, there's a way. And oftentimes you may be tested. The way that you are tested to see how strong your willpower is energies may come into your space when you are on a specific path, when you are living in your authentic as your authentic self. And I'm wondering if y'all know what I mean by that when I say if you are living as your authentic self? Like, are you doing exactly what you want to do, what you see for yourself, what your spirit tells you like is for you, is your purpose? Okay? So that's what I mean when I say, are you living your authentic truth? Like, many of you may have these, like, you may get these messages that tell you, hey, you're supposed to be this, like, artist that travels across the world and you know and enrich the lives of others and da da da. And then your spirit guides may give you that message and you're like, yeah, right. Okay. Like, you may start to think that that's unrealistic. You may start to think that that's a pipe dream. You may even have people that tell you, hey, you're getting older now. Those types of things are for people that don't have financial responsibilities, or for people that don't have children and da da da. And then it's like, sometimes it be, your own family, and they think that they're doing you some good. They think that they're helping you. And then in an instant, your goals and your dreams can be crushed. And so here you are, you have this beautiful, wonderful dream of doing X, Y, and Z. And then, one comment that someone says, it just shifts your energy. It shifts your energy. All of a sudden, you no longer have the desire to do that, because you think that if you do live that dream, you're going to fail, or someone's telling you that you will fail, and so you believe it. Or someone tells you that it's very irresponsible for you to live such a dream. And so that energy instantaneously can change whether, okay, someone else's energy can instantaneously change whether or not you live in your purpose. Okay? Someone saying something as simple as that can change every aspect of your being. Where you once smiled when you imagined, that life of the artist, traveling the world, okay, whatever kind of artist that is, all of a sudden you start to think that it's a really bad idea. Okay, so when I'm talking about you living authentically, I'm saying that regardless of what people may say to you, regardless of how it may seem, if it is something that is in alignment with your soul, okay? And I know for some of y'all, this is going to sound like, it's not going to sound realistic, especially, living in a world like this, because I think we're taught to think in a very limited way about ourselves in terms of what we are capable of doing. We are taught to place limits on who and what we are. And so when we go out there and we seek to live authentically, we seek to be true to ourselves, knowing that it's something that's going to make your soul, not only your soul happy, it's like it's in alignment with your purpose. What that means is, okay, let's take the example of the artist. Like, even though, right, even though someone may tell you that living the life of an artist traveling the world is horrible, something in your mind, okay, your spirit could be telling you, but that's exactly what you need to elevate your soul, to elevate your spirit, for you to become who you were born to be. And, your spirit, your soul is telling you, you know what? You are going to meet whoever it is that you need to meet on that path. It's like something, when you are meant to do something, okay, something automatically tells you that you are going to be provided for, okay? Even though everyone around you could be telling you, oh, this is a really bad idea. Oh, this is really immature. How could you think of something like that? Even though in the physical realm, right? In the physical, um, yeah, in the physical realm, all these energies could be trying to convince you that it's a bad idea. Your soul could be smiling when you think about it. So who do you get to be true to? Okay? Who do you get to be true to? Do you get to stay true to yourself and continue to have that smile and know that, oh my goodness, it's gonna take work, yet, oh, I know this is exactly where I'm gonna be. Or do you not, be true to yourself? Do you not be authentic and live someone else's dream? Because believe it or not, when people, impose their views, all right, when they impose their views on you, on us, a lot of times it's whatever belief they have. Okay? And if you believe that this live is imposing, views on you, then it's not for you. Okay? We get to be flexible. We don't force people to, subscribe to whatever belief we have. We just give you ideas, we give you a path that you may not have thought of. That's part of what this channel is about. It's about creating paths where a lot of times we feel like there is none. It's creating our own paths and creating our own doors when the doors, seem to be closed on us. Because I'm very sure that many of us have known what it feels like to have the doors supposedly closed on us. To have people supposedly, block us, limit us, as if that's going to stop you on your path. So part of, the rationale for creating this channel is to create a path, is to create a door. It's to let you know that whatever door or path you choose to create, as long as you are authentic to yourself and it is in alignment with your soul, people don't have the right to limit you. Okay? So, but they do anyway. All right? So many of us are not really living authentically. We're not living, we're not doing the thing that our soul is telling us to do. Because for whatever reason, we're afraid of, whatever past conditioning has taken place in our lives. Because believe it or not, we've been conditioned to take whatever path we're taking. And I'm just going to give you an example. For example, in American culture, you are conditioned and socialized to, take a certain path. You are conditioned and socialized to go to school, a traditional institution of learning. Afterwards, you go to college, right? And then you go into the workplace, you work for someone, okay? And then you have the, and then you get married, and then you have the wife or the husband and the kids, the 4.2 children and the white picket fence, like, a lot of folks, when they think about the American dream, that's what they think of. That's what they, think of as the ideal. And so anything that veers away from that, it's almost like, well, that one right there, she never da-da-da-da-da, or he never da-da-da-da, there's probably something wrong with him, or there's probably something wrong with her, because, he didn't do it the way he was supposed to do it, or she didn't do it, like that kind of thing. And whatever it is they think you were supposed to have done, whether it is, gone into the traditional workplace, or, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is. In every society, there's a certain standard as to what is deemed as normal. And so when you take the path that is less traveled by, it's a lot more challenging. And I feel like part of it is that it's meant to be. Part of it is it's meant to really test, again, it's meant to test your willpower to see, okay, well, how serious are you about this? How serious are you about, this spiritual walk that you say, you all kumbaya and you all about, following your intuition. Like, okay, we can say the right things. Okay. We can say the right things, to sound smart or to sound spiritual. Yet when it comes to actually doing the work, trusting ourselves, trusting that connection that we have with spirit, do we actually do that? And that could be one of the most challenging things, y'all, because now you're not just talking about it, you got to live it. Talking about it is one thing, living it is something else. And living it means that a lot of times you get to deal with the backlashes. A lot of times you're dealing with the folks that are not in agreement with the life that you've chosen. Because when you choose a spiritual life, know that in a sense, you are going against the grain. When you choose to live authentically to spirit, know that you have chosen automatically to go against the grain of whatever society you're living in, especially where it's one that doesn't value spirit, they value material things. So when you're living in I feel like the majority of like societies these days, because of the way that they've been conditioned to value material possession regardless. So it's like, regardless of where you are, and I'm not going to speak for all cultures, all societies. I definitely know that in American society we've been taught to value material things. We've been taught that, having a certain financial status, having a certain status, power, money, all of that is what matters. And so when you choose to focus your life, when you choose to make spirit, okay, your spiritual walk, the focus, you are going against the grain, and it's challenging. And again, it's meant to be, because part of it is your spirit guides, they're molding you, they're shaping you. And it's not always necessarily a test. Okay, I stand corrected. It's not always a test. It's about you, being shaped and molded to become, the greatest version of yourself. Because how else are you going to become the greatest version of yourself if you're not living, if you're not walking the walk? Let's just say it like that. If you're not walking the walk, how do you expect to be the greatest version of yourself? It's so much easier to talk about it than it is to walk it. It's so much easier, to say, I walk with the four elements. I did it, like, it's so much easier to tell you. Well, now your spirit guides are asking you to be in that energy of, I can show you better than I can tell you. Okay? So for many of y'all that could be concerned about, proving yourself, proving that you're this spiritual this and this spiritual that, you don't need to prove anything. Okay? You can show them better than you can tell them. Besides, like, you don't want to waste your breath explaining to people why it is that you choose to do the things that you do. Is only going to end up in, like, a tangled web of, whatever it is. Because to actually explain spirit, and if you notice, there isn't a book out there on spirituality that has quite got it figured out. Every book, right? Every book on spirituality can only take a component of it. not all of them have it quite figured out, because part of spirituality is that everything is not meant to be found in a book. It's meant to be lived through experience. Spirituality is meant to be lived, not just studied. Okay? And this is going out to my, to my folks out there, who attend, these yoga retreats on a on a consistent basis. Those are my folks, like you really trying to, to elevate your life. And you're doing all the studying, you're doing all the meditation, yet the real deal is actually living it, putting it into practice, being authentic and true to yourself. When your spirit guides tell you something, are you listening to it? Or is that noise, that you've been socialized to think, by other people, whether it's your parents, whether it's society, whether it's school, and part of it is, is so-called schooling. Schooling is meant to socialize you to think a certain way. So when you're making those decisions, are they coming from an authentic place? Are you actually listening to what your guides tell you? Like that intuitive nudge, like that feeling that you feel when you know this is right. Are you moving based on that? Are you moving based on that, or are you moving based off of, that the noise that we often hear in our heads because of what we've been taught, because of, what people have told us in past relationship, the ways that we've been conditioned, because those previous life experiences can turn into noise. So when you're making those decisions, are you essentially living in your past, or are you really working to move forward? And this is part of the reason why a lot of folks spend, like, 10 years, 20 years in the same space, and they wonder why something feels like it's missing. Okay? They wonder why something's missing. Okay. All right, y'all. So a lot of folks wonder why it is that, they get stuck in the same place. And they're not really stuck. That's the interesting thing. They're stuck in their heads. So they wonder why it is that they stay in the same place, and they stay in the same space, and they don't feel fulfilled. They feel like something's missing. And it turns into like being and feeling annoyed, like the folks that get annoyed, and they they get bothered by a lot of different things. It's like part of it is because they know that there's something missing. There's something that they're supposed to be doing that they're not doing, or whatever it is, right? It's about living in your authentic self. So going back, and we're still like, we're still in the same subject of, how spirituality, okay, how like financial circumstances have a spiritual basis. We're still on the same subject. So the spirit realm is the basis of everything, not the other way around. Okay? Whatever it is that happens in the spiritual, it manifests itself in the physical. How do we know this? It's just universal law, right? Universal law, like it's darkness that gives way to light. It's the unseen, right? It's the unseen that gives way to what is seen. Okay? Let's take a basic example. How is it that many of us are born is our mothers and fathers decide to come together, right? They decide to come together in their moment of bliss, okay, which is a moment which is the unseen. So essentially, whatever happened during that moment that no one saw, right? No one would know that they got together until, unless, wait, I'm losing my train of thought. No one would know that they got together, right? If you weren't born. Okay? If you ever doubted that, they got together, it's like, wait a minute, how are you born? Okay, so hopefully that helps to clarify that. All right, so it's what is unseen that gives way to what is seen, right? Another way of saying that is, that would be a really great example. You will know someone's spiritual path. You will know exactly how they're consecrating their energy, a lot of times by how they appear in the real world. Okay, in the 3D. Y'all, let me tell you, I have dealt with some folks on paper. I mean, they were like, they were all kumbaya on paper. And this is the spiritual community, okay? So for those of you that think that, all these spiritual folks got it together, it ain't true. All right? I have dealt with some spiritual folks, so-called spiritual folks. On paper, they were just like all kumbaya and stuff. Meaning like, they appear phenomenal on paper. Okay? They even got the name to match, Ra something something something. They got these like and I'm not just like, this is not an attack on anyone, with a comedic name or anything, because I think that it's powerful. It's just, their name, kind of gives off this energy and da da da. And then when you meet the person, and this is a personal experience, like this was a young woman whose energy, I was like, wait a minute, where am I? I had to do a double take, because I was like, you ain't the same person that I saw on this, paper or whatever. So it's like, sometimes, a lot of times, you will see someone's true reflection, okay, in terms of their spirit. You will see their true, spiritually who they are by, how they appear in person. And I'm not just talking about physical appearance. I'm talking about energy here, because everything is energy. Like, there's some folks who on paper look phenomenal, and then it's like when you meet them in the 3D, it's like, wait a minute, I don't think, I don't think this is the same person here. I don't think this is the same person. So you got to think about, okay, what these folks been doing, in terms of their spiritual life. Okay? Are they just spiritual on paper? Because when you meet them in the 3D, it's like, whoa, what is it? It's like their ego's up to here. I was like, wait a minute. Spirit don't ask for all that. Of course, that might be my opinion, right? It might just be my opinion. But my perception of someone who is like, anyway, we'll leave it at that. So truly, it is the spiritual that gives way to what we see in the 3D. And you can tell a lot about someone in terms of what they've been doing spiritually, okay, by how they, what their energy appears like in the 3D. I mean, what their energy actually is like. It's not just what it appears like. It is what it is. Okay? You could tell whether, how connected someone is spiritually, when you meet them. how much it is that, you know, they're awakened, they're aware. Okay? So the spiritual gives way to the physical. So whatever it is that's happening in the spiritual, it's giving us a lot of information. The invisible is giving us a lot of information about what we are seeing. So for many of you who are experiencing a lot of economic challenges, okay, or not just the folks that are experiencing a lot of economic challenges, this is really just for everybody. It's for everybody. All right. Know that there is a spiritual basis to your economic condition. Okay, whatever economic condition it is. And nothing is really ever that simple. Okay, nothing is ever that simple, because money is currency, as we said previously, and that's energy. So the more you choose to live in your authentic self, as your authentic self, you may encounter, you know, some challenges, because whatever currency is in, you know, is in effect, or it's vibrating, however that currency is vibrating, it may not be in alignment to your soul's purpose. And so the challenge comes where you are working with a system that is essentially not in alignment with your soul's purpose. And that's the case for a lot of us who have chosen to walk an authentic path. Those of us who have chosen to live authentically, you know, as ourselves. We are, you know, living in systems that are very much using, you know, not a very liberated way of thinking, not a very authentic way of being. Systems that don't honor spirit, okay? Systems that honor economy, systems that honor material possession. So if you're someone that honors, you know, spirit, you may find it challenging, you know, to walk in those systems, because you literally are going against the grain. Hopefully that makes sense. You are going against the grain. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't, you know, use your willpower. You use your willpower to move forward. And there are a lot of folks, y'all, that are, you know, working on living as their authentic self in systems that don't necessarily, you know, vibrationally match with their energy. Now, it's challenging, y'all. It's challenging, you know, to do that. Yet it's not impossible. It's not impossible. And what you will often find is that, you know, when you choose to live as your authentic self, here they come, all these energies that are trying to get you to conform to their way of being, that are trying to get you to conform, you know, to the artificial way of being instead of the natural way of being. Systems that honor, you know, a lot more of the artificial instead of the natural. Okay? They don't know nothing about nature. They don't want to hear about nature. They don't want to hear about spirit. They don't want to hear about your connection to spirit. They don't want to hear about balance, alignment. You know, all they want to know about is, okay, they want your energy. Because essentially it's your energy that feeds their system. And when you choose not to partake as much as possible, okay? And some of y'all may not know this, but a lot of folks who choose not to do those 9 to 5s, Contrary to popular belief, it's not because they are lazy and they don't want to work. Contrary to popular belief, some of y'all tend to think that, a lot of folks don't subscribe to that whole 9 to 5 thing because they don't want to work. Contrary. That is the contrary. Many of those folks who choose not to, subscribe to that 9 to 5, number one, it's like, they're choosing as much as possible to be authentic in their self, right? As their self. And being in those environments do not allow them to be elevated spiritually. So that's one thing. Okay? It doesn't allow it's confining. A lot of those spaces are very confining. And you're talking about folks who are free spirits. Okay? Who are free spirits. And that's the kind of like conversations that, that we get to have, y'all, because our society has a negative perception, and we said this before. Our society has a negative perception about those who choose not to walk that path. Okay? Those who choose not to, feed the system that essentially is oppressing them. Those who choose not to, yeah. A lot of folks, get backlash when they choose not to, and they've been taught to. They've been literally these folks that think this way, okay? These folks that seem to think that unless you have a 9 to 5, you're lazy and da da da. Like I've heard it. I've heard it from people who are talking about people in that kind of energy, who seems to think that, these people, are lazy. They don't want to work. Like I've heard people in their conversations regarding folks that choose not to work the 9 to 5. And part of it is because they're, whatever verbiage they have, whatever narrative they have, they've been taught to, to have that narrative. That if you're not, working with that system, that, you're lazy. That's the kind of language that we are taught to have about the chosen. That's the kind of language that, society has about people who choose to focus on a spiritual path. It's almost like, spirituality is an art that's not honored anymore. Right? It's a way of being that is not honored because the focus is on something else. So, as we continue this conversation, the question is, what are you feeding? Are you feeding someone else's beliefs? And what are those beliefs? Okay? Yes, at the end of the day that you will get paid and so on and so forth. What kind of system are you feeding your energy to? Because everything that you spend time and energy on, you're basically giving your energy into something. Okay? What are you giving your energy to? And are you living as your authentic self? Or are you living as someone else's, belief of you? Those are all questions that we get to ask. Aaron, you said learned behavior. A lot of it is learned behavior. I mean, even from preschool. Even from the time that, little babies are coming up, they get asked questions about, okay, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? you know, and they're taught about these various roles in society, yet few of them are taught to honor the spirit within. They're like, what's that? Like that spirit that lives within that child is hardly nurtured in systems that value, economy. And think about how society would be different if we honored that, that spirit that lives within that child, right? And to build it and to see that light grow and allow that child to make decisions on their own. And for many that sounds very foreign. For many that sounds very foreign. Okay? That sounds like it's a very foreign thing, because we are taught that if our child takes on this role where they work for the very systems, to feed these systems. Many of us, even as parents, we are taught that if our children, contributes to these systems, that, they've made it. If they work for a major corporation, they've made it. If, they work for a major hospital, they've made it. If they work for, some sort of government department, they've made it. Yet if they become an artist, and I'm going to take that artist again just because that seems to be something that, we have such a negative view of artists in our society. And honestly, I feel like Hollywood has really tainted, our image of artists because, they make it seem like, all artists are like, strung out on drugs, or pardon the French. I don't know if there are children listening. Yeah, they make it seem like, all artists, are this and that. And part of it is because, they taint that image. All right. Being authentic is an art. Okay. Living as your authentic self is an art. It's an art form to be like you as a person. You are a work of art. Let's really talk about it. You are a work of art. All of you. Like there is no one out there like you on this planet. Even if they have the same name as you do. And I be looking at I be looking. I oftentimes, look at what that social media, oh yeah, like Facebook. I oftentimes, look on their page and I see like, there's like 10 different faces and then they have the same name, and I'm like, how did this happen? And I'm like, I wonder if it's like, some bot that just like invented these names. I mean, it's possible. And so I'm saying all this to say, even if someone has the same name as you, okay, no one can be the person that you are with the same name, with the same face, living exact same. Like, there's no one like you. You are a work of art. As much as we like to, talk trash about art, okay, and they say art imitates life. You are a work of art. Okay, so as a work of art, you get to choose what you will. You get to choose, what gives your soul peace. And I know, y'all, it's harder, it's easier to talk about than to live. If it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. If it was that easy, everyone would be literally living their authentic selves, their authentic dreams, so on and so forth. And and I get that many of us have had experiences that essentially teach us to not go for what we want. Many of us have had previous life experiences that have, for whatever reason, that have led us to whatever path that we're in. The thing is, it's never too late. It's never too late. And perhaps maybe, perhaps maybe this message came to you to remind you to live as your authentic self. That elevated being that you are. Now, I know that, for some folks, their idea of their authentic self, some folks, their idea of their authentic self is, some kind of, diabolical thing. I ain't talking to y'all. I ain't talking to y'all. Okay. We trying to raise the vibration on this planet. Okay, we trying to raise the vibration on this planet. We trying to give human beings, a chance to live, and the children a chance to live and see a future. Okay, so we talking about we talking about the high vibrational beings that have, very positive plans for planet Earth. Not y'all, but with your diabolical schemes. Now, we ain't talking about y'all, because let's be real. There's different sides of the spectrum. Okay. So it may be challenging to, to, in terms of like, financially, like some of y'all may perceive, or you may think that you have to, compromise. That's the word I was thinking about. You may think that you have to compromise who you are and yourself in order for you to be successful. And when you're someone who's not willing to compromise your soul, your spirit, people may have issues with you. They may have issues with you. They may have issues with you. They may call you all kinds of names. They may wonder why, you're not in this position and that position. Well, in those cases, that's when you get to, define for yourself what's important. Some of y'all out here thinking that everybody wants to be, this person who's famous, and they got their name in lights, and they have like 3 BMWs, and like some of y'all think that everyone, that should be everyone's goals, and it's not. Some of those things are not really appealing to a lot of us. Like some of us actually have there are things that are more important than those things. Okay? There are things that are way more important than those things. And for those folks who seem to think that there is an issue with not valuing those material things, well, you get to ask yourself the question, who raised you to think that way? Who taught you to think that way? Where did that thinking come from? Who taught you that you had to have the latest this, the latest that, in order for you to feel like a person, in order for you to value yourself and who you are? Who taught you that? You get to take some time to, like dig deep. Who taught you that, you had to be what someone else told you had to be, instead of who you truly are or who you want to be? Another question is, are you living as your authentic self, or are you living somebody else's, whatever their authentic self is? Many of us are not really living as our authentic selves. Y'all, this is really real. Like, this is not just talk. Like, there are some folks out here that could barely afford to feed themselves, and they are willing to buy the latest this, buy the latest gadget for the sake of why? Because everybody else has it. Okay? Because that is what's popular. That is what's cool. That's what, you know, that's the thing. And you would think that you dealing with, you know, some teenagers who are like going through fads. Nah, these are grown people who feel like they have to, you know, as the saying goes, keep up with the Joneses. I'm not sure where that saying came from. Okay. And that's not judging those folks, y'all. That's not judging those folks. Okay, so okay, y'all. So I could stop the live and do the reading. I wanted to pull some cards and see what's showing up in your energy regarding financial stuff. Okay, we won't make this too long. I was gonna stop the live and then just start over, but should I? Let's see. You know what? Maybe that's exactly what we'll do. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll do a financial read. Okay, after this. So thank you to everyone. You said carry on. Erin, you talking about the reading? Let me know what y'all think. Should we just keep going with the financial read? Because I'm also going to move based on how y'all, you know, think. Universal energy, yeah, absolutely. Oh, let me put my information if you guys are interested in getting a personal reading. Okay. Okay, we'll keep going. We will keep going because a lot of times I end up, you know, turning off this thing and it doesn't come back on. Because there's a lot of other stuff. Okay. Okay, so we'll make this quick. Oops. I think it was Erin. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so I think I may have posted it twice. Okay, I may have posted it twice. So you can let me know if you see it. All right, y'all. Let's this is going to be really, really quick. Okay. Okay, so this is a yes or no question. So it's for one question, right? I'm going to take the first part of the question and see what shows up. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. So this is the response that I got for you. And this is actually what fell down. Okay, so I'm taking this as a maybe. It may not be the answer that you want to hear. And part of what I'm getting is this page of cups regarding trusting your intuition about something. Um, so I'm not sure what's going on with the situation. Universal energy. I'm seeing that there, whatever that question that you ask about, I'm seeing that there could be an energy of like discord, an energy of like someone possibly being stuck in their ego. This may be your energy. Someone may have this fear of like, someone may fear like, their worst, um, it's giving this energy of like someone may fear something that they don't want actually happening. Okay, it's giving this kind of energy. Um, I'm getting trust your intuition. Okay. Trust your intuition. And you will know what that means. You see this like 3 of Pentacles is giving like It's giving workplace scenario, like someone doesn't know how to work well with others. Someone, you know, someone that hasn't learned. Oh no. I'm not sure who this is related to, but it's like everything is coming in the reverse for someone, okay? Like King of Cups in the reverse, someone who's scheming, this, that, and the third, like everything is showing up in the reverse. The only thing that's showing up in the upright as it relates to this um was the Page of Cups, someone trusting their intuition. Okay. Okay. All right, so did we have another question, y'all? So it's not telling me who is who, universal energy circle. It's not telling me who is who. It's definitely showing someone's energy in terms of like not being able to, someone doesn't know how to work well with others. They don't know how to play well with others. It's giving, you know, and this is how it appeared, the King of Cups in the reverse. Um which the King of Cup is supposed to be someone that knows how to work well with others. Um Yet when it's in the reverse, that's the opposite. Okay, so I'm not sure who's who, and you will know who is who. Okay, are there any other questions, y'all? Okay, so I think I saw another super chat. Aaron, did you have a question? Okay, let me just pull some cards to see what's showing up in your energy. Oh, thank you, Aaron. Member in the house, Febe. Okay. Um, let's see. All right, I'm gonna pull a couple cards to see what's showing up for y'all financially. Now I say this is gonna be a financial read. Let's see what your spirit guides got to say about that. Okay, so I'm gonna make this very brief because I have been on here for quite some time. Okay, show us the energy surrounding finances. Okay, so I'm seeing a 9 of Cups. Right off the bat, 9 of Cups is giving fulfillment, your wishes coming true. Okay. And it's also giving it the 5 of Pentacles energy. The 5 of Pentacles could be a past energy. It could be someone else's energy. Kind of like someone could feel left out. And then I'm getting the Star. And then the King of Wands. I said I was going to make this very short. The Tower. And then the 6 of Swords. Okay. So I know I showed them pretty fast. So let me just reiterate. So got the 9 of Cups. 5 of Pentacles. 5 of Pentacles again could be someone's energy or yours. I'm getting the Star. The Star could be someone. Okay, so this could definitely be someone's energy showing up. Okay, you could be showing up as this star. Okay, like your light is shining very bright. King of Wands may be someone whose energy that you're going to find happiness with, possibly connected to financial situation. And then the Tower may be some sort of like revelation having to do with this person, whoever this person is, that's that either is being left in the cold or feels like they're left in the cold. There could be some revelation about someone so in regards to these two, the Tower showing up again. In regards to these two energies, 9 signifies ending. Okay, and the 9 coming right before the 5 of Pentacles could be an ending that someone could be experiencing, an ending to financial loss, an ending to feeling left out, an ending. It's like I feel like the universe is trying to put a stop into, trying to put a stop to something that may have disconnected you from this energy of wish fulfillment, bliss. This King of Wands is a very protective energy as well. This could be your energy. It could also be an energy that you're embracing your creativity, embracing, your energy as a leader. So there could be some aspect of this King of Wands that you are in that's that you're going to be, that's helping you to find fulfillment in yourself. Okay, possibly connected to your finances. So I feel like this is in alignment with what we're talking about in terms of like your creativity. I feel like your guides, are encouraging you to be in this King or Queen of Wands energy, to embrace your creative energy, to take leadership of whatever it is that you do creatively. If you weren't taking it seriously, to start taking it seriously. You're going to be finding some sort of like bliss and fulfillment connected to this energy of creativity. And this bliss may be connected to your financial endeavors. All right. Um, tell me about this Nine of Cups. Okay. I just, okay. Tell me about this Nine of Cups. All right, some of you could be thinking about this quite a bit, okay? Thinking about being in an energy of fulfillment, bliss, meditating on what brings happiness into your life. Some of you, you may not have found that yet, or perhaps you are looking to find that. So in terms of like reaching that energy of happiness and bliss, so this is giving the energy of work that you may need to put in order for you to find that bliss. If there's one thing that the King of Wands knows how to do, is to definitely put words into action. Okay. And I'm getting that with this Five of Pentacles, it definitely could be a past energy. It's giving past energy. Past energy, memories, things, this could be limiting beliefs that you may have, either about yourself or about the work that you're doing, your creative endeavor, whatever you're embarking in, whatever you're embarking on. I also feel like the Six of Cups is connected to some gift that you have that could potentially help you financially, providing that you put in the work, the effort. Yet there could be something that is, holding you back. Five of Pentacles, Six of Cups. Yeah, some of you may have a decision to make having to do with your financial endeavor. Okay, so while this came up, I'm seeing the words philosophy for whatever reason. Okay, like this could be connected to your work philosophy. This Ace of Pentacles, right? For some of you, you are on your way to like finding new beginning, right? In terms of your financial endeavor. Yet there could be some, it's giving this energy of like you possibly being at some sort of a crossroad. You're having to make some decisions having to do with your creativity. You may get to spend time and energy. Like I'm definitely getting that, the work that you put in, the energy that you put in, right? Because that's what this Ace of Wands is about. This Ace of Wands and this Ace of Pentacles is about you attaining the financial beginning that you've wanted, providing that you put the energy into it. And for some, you're going to be seeing growth, okay? You're going to be seeing growth in terms of your finances, yet there are some things that you get to do. I feel like your spirit guides are wanting you to learn from your past. Like there's an overarching energy here of you learning from your past. And this learning could be, there's some aspect of your past that I feel like your guys don't necessarily want you to shun that away. Like the lessons that you've learned from your past could be the very thing that you use to help you to move forward financially. Okay, so an example of that could be, you had a past experience, childhood experience where, um, you know, you didn't have X, Y, and Z, and then you develop something, for children who experience the same things that you experience as a child, if that makes any sense. Like, so there's some aspect of your past that you can essentially use to fuel a financial new beginning. Like, your guides are wanting you to know not to neglect or push away those past experiences, because you can use those experiences to fuel some really creative ideas, some brilliant ideas that are going to bring some financial new beginning. Okay, so your past was meant to build resilience. It was meant to help you to come to some sort of like new beginning of something that you're manifesting. And some of you may feel conflicted in terms of thinking about these past things, yet you can actually use those past energies, if that makes sense, to fuel your creative energy for something that you get to do in the future. um your guys want you to know to stop fighting, whatever past circumstances or energies. It's kind of like it's giving the energy of like, okay, use those experiences to fuel something new that's going to bring, wealth. It's going to bring success. Okay. Page of Pentacles. This is financial good news that's showing up for you. Tell me more about this King of Wands. Wait a minute. I also feel like the star is showing up here, all right, to remind you, the star, this is like giving Aquarius energy. This is giving thoughts, ideas. Like you are divinely connected, all right, to the cosmos. And you get to ask, meditate. For some of you, you may develop or you may get some like really brilliant ideas, in your dreams, that may be the thing that brings financial abundance your way. Okay, you may receive some, divine inspiration, from your spirit guides, some idea that's going to help you creatively as well as financially. So I also feel like your guides want you to take charge of your financial circumstances. Okay, King of Wands. You have the help of all these energies that are surrounding you, the cosmos, this, that, and like, you have the help of nature, you have the help of the cosmos in terms of like helping you to push you forward. If there's one thing that the King of Wands is abundant. Okay, the King of Wands, King or Queen of Wands, you could be a King or Queen of Wands. The King or Queen of Wands is full of creative energy, a lot of fire. Like, they know how to make something out of nothing. They know how to take charge of their circumstances. So your guides could be asking you to embrace that energy, to know that you have the capacity to do that. Okay, wait. And you can choose what you will. Okay, exercise willpower. You choose what you will. You will it into action. Whatever you will into action, that's exactly what it's gonna be. Okay. I'm seeing the Four of Cups. There's possibly like some energy, or it's showing up as some sort of like creative energy that could be, that may be blocked. Um Perhaps you needing, or you get to channel that energy. Tell me more about this King of Wands. Okay, there's a Queen of Wands energy as well. I'm getting that it's possible that there could be, in terms of like your financial endeavors, that there could be someone showing up in your energy, who may be a vibrational match to your energy, that may be coming in, okay, that you may receive revelations about. Okay, Lover's energy. This could be a potential person that you will have a partnership with. You're going to receive revelations regarding this person. This person may be watching you, or they're learning from you or learning of you. What's the connection? Okay, this person could be moving towards you to bring some sort of, I'm getting like it could be, this person may bring hope. There, it may be that you could be coming into a connection that's going to bring hope, that could fuel your creative energy, that could bring the spark back into your creative energy. Some of you may, you know, you may still have some like leftover stuff from those past experiences. Tell me about the Six of Wands. Okay, Knight of Cups. Okay, that was the night. That was the Ten of Wands. So whatever that past experience is, let me just get that. So whatever that past experience is, you know, it may be heavy. It may be weighing on you. It may be keeping you from rising and becoming victorious, the victor, instead of the victim. You have a lot of new beginnings showing up here, okay? In your creativity, in your finances. And I feel like your spirit guides are going to bring news of a lot of what's to come. Okay. I'm going to, oh, look at that. Six of Wands is showing up again. Okay, that's victory and success. I feel like that's confirmation for many of you. For many of you, whatever idea that you develop, you're going to be recognized for it. It's going to put you in a position where people see you. Or perhaps it may be that the King or Queen of Wands energy that was showing up could be your future person that could see you in this kind of energy. And I'm also getting that for many of you, there's something that you started creatively that you're going to be seeing to completion. Like your guides are going to see to, you know, to assure that you see it to completion. Perhaps there's some decisions that you get to make. You get to meditate on something. Six of Wands, like, for me, when the reading ends with a Six of Wands and it's showing up more than once, like, you're showing up here as the victor, okay? Not the victim. I feel like that's what your guides essentially want you to know in regards to whatever financial circumstance that you could be inquiring about, okay? And the wheels of change are definitely in your favor. All right? All right, y'all. That is the message. I feel like this thing started the timer is like doing some weird stuff. Thank you for joining, y'all. Okay. Peace, love, and divine light.